What is going on, buddy?
There we go. What's happening?
Every day is a blessing. And you?
Yeah. Hey, all is good, man. Just walked into work, ready to rock and roll.
Well, the man, the myth, the legend,
Yeah.
Anthony
Yeah.
Ritchie.
I
You
don't
look
know
very
about that.
sharp. You
Yeah,
look very
appreciate it.
sharp. Absolutely. So, do you get to work this morning, every morning, the same time, this early?
Definitely normally not this early. No, I'm not a early get to work guy. I'm a stay late guy, but I'm not a get to early work guy. I got a 5-year-old at home or 6-year-old at home. So the mornings is kind of my time to spend with her, hang out. I take her to school sometimes. My wife actually works at the school, but well, it's our church, but she's in kindergarten. But she, uh, she gets me to take her sometimes. We go to breakfast. That's my time with her. You've been in the car business, so you know how it is with the hours. You get
I
home
do.
late, so the mornings I'm usually 8:30 kind of guy. We're try to have all the managers here. I like to get them here by at least 8:45, but we try to get here by 8:30, 8:35. So normally not
Okay.
this early, but here this morning. So
Yeah. So I did a little bit of just looking on your Facebook page. Everybody can look
yeah,
him up. Anthony Ritchie works at, do I pronounce it Granger?
yep, that's it. Ranger Nissan.
Granger
Yeah,
Nissan. So how long have you been there?
I've been here. It'll be 8 years in February that I've been here. So
Congratulations.
thank you. It's a good place. I've been in the car business for a long time, and it's my third store. Hopefully, the last. They're good people. We have 4 dealerships. So we have two here, or one in Anderson, two in Savannah, Georgia, and one in Beaufort. So three total Nissan stores and one Honda store.
Okay, awesome. So a good family to
So
work for?
great family to work for. Owner is very involved. Um, Great guy. So it's yeah, they're great people.
Oh, good. All right. So what I would like to start off with is how was your childhood? Was your family in sales as well? What led you into sales? How did you grow up?
I know my family's the opposite of in sales. So my mom works for the big power company. I'm not going to mention the name, but it's the biggest power company around. I think people can probably figure out who that is.
Okay.
She's been there since she was 19, so 42 or 43 years now. And my dad was in commercial roofing, so not a. My dad's retired now, so not a sales background with my family. Um, I do have an older sister. She's 3 years older than me. She was the perfect child growing up, and I wasn't. When she did everything right, and whenever I was supposed to go right, I went left. So, um, but I grew up in a great home. My parents are great. Still have a great relationship with them. My sisters, great. We all still live in the same town. My sister did move away for a while, but she slowly made her way back here, and she's here now. So, but yeah, I grew up in the same town I live in now. I've been here my whole life, and I actually looked it up one day where I'm at now in Anderson, South Carolina. I think it was back to my great grandparents had all lived in the same town and really never left. So I think that's why I've been sort of successful in sales. Is if they're from Anderson, I usually know somebody that they know, or I know them.
Absolutely.
For being here my whole life. So, but grew up playing golf, and still play as much as I can. With the family and working, it's hard to get out there as much. But my childhood consisted of sports and you know going to school, and that was about it, really.
Okay.
I played a lot of golf, and uh, yeah, that's how I got in the car business. I was recruited out of college or out of high school to play college golf, and had several Division 1 offers, a lot of Division 2 offers, but unfortunately, like I said, school was not my thing. So I didn't have the grades to get in. So I got into a junior college, and I still have a record there. I was the only freshman to enter as a freshman on academic probation. Uh, so as a freshman, I was on academic. I hadn't had a semester yet, and I was already on academic probation. The golf coach held a meeting with the board of trustees to get me in, and so you can imagine how that went. The first semester, I didn't make it long, and they said you need to go back to Anderson. So I said okay. So I came back to Anderson. I was going to a little technical school, and I said, man, I just don't like this. Like I got to find something to do. and I was working at a little golf store as a salesperson, like just basically an hourly employee. I think I was making $7.50 an hour,
Yeah.
and so I said, "Man, this isn't cutting it either." So I said, "I'm going to go back to school." So I went back to school, and I was doing that for a while, and then I said, "You know what? I'm just going to go to night school like one night a week, and I'm going to get a job." So my mom was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you are going to get a job if you're quitting school full time." So uh, this is as crazy as it sounds. I'm not that old, but 37. But I looked in the newspaper for sales jobs,
Yeah.
and found one that, man, it sold the perfect job. It was a commercial cleaning sales rep selling commercial cleaning supplies. Company car. I was like, oh yeah, this is me. So I went and applied. They hired me on the spot. I'm like, all right, let's rock and roll. But I still didn't know what I was going to be selling. So I show up the next day and there's like 40 people in this room. I'm like, what are all these people doing here? So I started asking the guy next to him, hey, what are you here for? He's like, oh, the sales job. I'm like, how many of these guys did they hire? So we finally get in this room. They do this huge presentation. We'll come to find out it was selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door, and that
Hmm.
company car was a 15 passenger van. They drop you off in the neighborhood. So at lunch, I was like, "No, this ain't for me. I'm out of here. Like I'm not doing this." So I get in my car and then I got to go home and tell my mom I just quit my job on the first day, and I'm like 19, 20 years old. So the Honda store was across the street. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go apply there because I'd always wanted to be in car sales. I liked it. And I'd heard that, I'd see the guys at the golf course that were in car sales, they had the fancy watches and the nice cars and dress nice. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that one day. So I go in, guy at the Honda store was like, nah, man, I don't need you. You're too young. I'm like, okay. He said, you can try the Chrysler store next door because they own the Chrysler store. This group did. So I go in, and me and the GSM there just kick it off, and he hires me on the spot, and then he introduces me to the GM, and come to find out I'd already known him because I'd played golf with him before, and so he hired me. Well, 3 months later, that same Honda guy that didn't need me was offering me cash out of his pocket to come back up to the Honda store. I was like, no, man, you didn't need me 3 months ago. You don't need me now just because we figured out I could sell cars.
Well said.
And funny story now, he's my neighbor. He lives like 4 houses down from me. But
Are y'all close now?
no, I mean, we see each other and we speak. I don't even know if he remembers that. I mean, I was 20 years ago, 19 years ago, 18 years ago, whatever. But yeah, I never forgot it. I can assure you that. And, but yeah, he lives like 4 or 5 houses down from me now.
Well, the
So,
thing is, some stuff like that motivates us.
oh,
You know?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it puts a fire in us. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I started in September and like mid-month, and I think I sold like 7 or 8 cars. And then, they were only selling 90 cars out of there with like 8 salespeople. So not a huge, not big numbers. And I think in October I did like 13, 12, 13. November I did 14, 15. And I told them, I said, in December I'm busting 20. They said, man, nobody ever busts 20 out of the store. I said, well, it's happening. And I did. I sold 22. And that was probably one of my best months in the car business, really and truly.
All right. I think you're back now.
Yeah, can you hear
Yeah, I can hear you.
me? Yeah. So
So 80, 90 cars wasn't that much.
no. And I was doing 13 or 14, and I told them in that December, which would have been I think my third full month. I said, I'm breaking 20 this month. They said, nobody here's ever sold over 20. I said, well, it's happening. So, I mean, I'm young, dumb, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Everybody to me was a customer at that point in time. You know how it is when you're in the car business. And I did 22 in December of 2006, I believe. And, I made just the kind of money I made at 19 years old. I was like, I thought I was Donald Trump or something. I mean, I was driving an Escalade and, just thought I was the man. But, and I've been hooked on it ever since and been doing it ever since, really. I dabbled in something else for 6 months, sold mobile homes for 6 months, but for the most part, been in the car business my whole career.
So you've done it for 18 years, roughly speaking.
Yep. I sold for 5 years at that store, the Chrysler Jeep Dodge store. Then I went to a full line GM store as a salesperson, sold there for a couple years. And I wanted to get into management. Everybody wants to get into management. I wanted to move up. And you probably heard this before too, being a GM. you can take a pay cut. And I went and asked the GM. I was like, "Hey man, how do I move up?" He said, "Quit selling so many cars." And that was his answer. And so I dialed it back a little bit, and then they put me in backup F&I, and I earned my stripes there for a solid year. I did backup F&I, and one Saturday morning I met with the GSM. He said, "Hey, meet me at IHOP for breakfast." And I said, "Okay." So I met him for breakfast, and he said, "Hey, when we get in, I'm firing the F&I manager because he lied." I said, "Okay." He said, "So you're up." I was like, "All right." And went in and started doing F&I and hated it, but I wanted to get to the desk. And, in my opinion, and every dealer group that I've worked with, you need to be an F&I before you go to the desk. Just teaches you how to structure deals better, how to pencil deals better. So, I did my time in finance for about 2.5 years. And then I came to this store as a sales manager. And then about a year ago, got promoted to GSM. So,
isn't it crazy in the car business where they don't want to make salespeople that sell a ton of cars managers, where they're just, you would think from my standpoint, where if they're that good at sales, they would be a phenomenal desk manager or a phenomenal finance guy, but they look at it where they're going to lose
they're
numbers
losing
from
that, and I went through that not too long ago. Yeah, but it is wild because they usually do make good managers. Most of them, I have seen some that don't. They're better off as a salesperson. But one of my good friends, I sold him cars for a while, and he had always been in blue collar jobs. And he every time I would post that I was hiring, he would send me a message. But he was scared to death to get on commission, which I understand. He's got a family, he's got a wife, he's got 2 kids. I get it. He knew that when he did his 40 hours, he knew what he was getting paid on Friday. So I get the fear that he had. For me, it didn't bother me, but it was all I'd ever known. So he one day he called me. He said, "All right, I'm ready." I was like, "All right, come on." So we hired him, and man, he came in and he was guns blazing. He averaged 22 cars a month his first year in a store that was doing 100. We were doing about 130, 140 at the time, with 12, 13 salespeople, and he never sold anything before in his life. But man, he was consistent, and it was month in, month out. And it came time, and then the next year, same thing, 21, 22 cars a month. And it came time where we needed a sales manager because I had moved up. The guy who was above me had left, and so we promoted him. But it stung, those growing pains when you take a guy off the floor that's consistently going to get 22 cars. He's my model now when I hire people. He was. I'm not huge into social media. I watch a lot. I don't produce a lot of social media stuff. Probably like I should, but I do watch. Like your work, and Russ flips whips. I see his car. I don't know if you've ever heard of Frank Cornetti, but watch him. And and that's one of my questions I ask people now is, "Hey, how active are you on social media?" Before I hire them. And I think sometimes it scares them because they're worried, "Hey, so you think I'm going to be on my phone all day while I'm at work?" And I'm like, no, it's for a good reason. Like,
Yeah.
But going back to that story of promoting Travis, that's how he was so successful. It's consistently every day he posted cars, he posted some form of a story, and he always had a customer. He was always working something. And
Absolutely.
that's what I try to tell salespeople now is if you're depending on it, and I'm just talking in the car business because it's the industry I'm in, but if you're depending on lot traffic and people that are walking in to make a living right now, you're going to go broke. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. There's no way about it. You have to have some form of your own revenue of customers.
Yes, a
whether
pipeline.
It's a pipeline, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it is. You have to have something to get in front of people. And I think a lot of people sorry, it's freezing in here. I don't know what it is. The heat's off or something in here, but I can't remember what I was about to say.
The pipeline about social media.
Even if it's not the person that sees the post that needs a car, they talk to people because for some reason people like to talk about cars. I don't know why. I don't even like cars, if you know the honest truth. But people like to talk about cars. And, if they're talking about it and they say, hey, I saw Brent's post earlier. You know Brent, right? Yeah, I know Brent. Yeah, we know he sells cars down here. He posted a, 2020 Altima the other day.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So then you get a referral from that person that you weren't even really posting that for, or, they didn't even see your post. It
Yeah.
just, and he always had a customer. And I would say that 15 out of his 20, 22 a month came off Facebook, really and truly.
That's amazing. What
It
kind
is.
of work
It
did
really
he
is.
do before he started sales?
He worked at Michelin. So we have the world's largest rubber mixing Michelin plant is 10 minutes down the road here,
And what kind of
from
money
where I
was he
live.
making?
50 grand, 50, I think he told me $53,000 was the most money he made in his life. His first year, he made like $118,000.
And
So,
but he was in his comfort zone and he had a
yeah,
family, as you mentioned, and he
yeah,
just,
absolutely. His wife has a good job, I think, and so they were comfortable with what he was making.
mhm,
But he had left there and he had went and started doing something else, and he wasn't making as much money. Is the reason he finally decided to make the switch. But also Michelin too, and that's what and some of the best people I've hired have been from manufacturing jobs, surprisingly. But I think that they get so tired of the same thing every day. And, at Michelin, it doesn't matter if you've been there 1 year or 30 years, you work swing shifts. So 1 month or for 2 weeks, you're working first. And for 2 weeks, you're working second shift. 2 weeks, that gets old. When you're working third
absolutely.
shift or second or third shift with a family, I'd much rather get home at 8 o'clock at night than be leaving at 8 o'clock at night to go to work all night and then have to sleep all day. So um, and I think that was a lot to do with him, which is why he's doing. But he's doing great now. He's sales manager. He's actually in Disney World right now. He's on vacation, so it's one reason
And
I'm working today on a Tuesday. So
and I noticed looking at your Facebook page, your sister helps with packages at Disney.
she does. We are a huge Disney family.
Me,
Um,
me too.
yeah, and we're actually my wife and I are going on an adult trip in a couple weeks for her birthday, and then our whole family is going in March. So we're big Disney people. So
Where do y'all stay at when you go down there?
different places. We stay at Caribbean Beach some. We stayed at the Polynesian. We've stayed at Yacht Club. Um, I always stay on property somewhere. I like to be somewhere near Hollywood Studios and Epcot, or near a Skyliner. If you got
Okay.
kids and you got a stroller, the Skyliner's a lifesaver. So, you just walk right on with the stroller. You don't have to fold it up, take all your crap out, and you just walk right on. So, how
Yeah,
about you? Where do you guys stay?
so we so my daughters are 3 and 1, and I noticed you have two kids, a boy and a girl,
Yeah,
and they're a little bit older than mine's 3 and 1.
yeah.
And I always like doing on property. First year we stayed at Grand Floridian,
Oh
which
yeah,
you don't have to fold the stroller up. You can just
yeah.
get right on the monorail, take you
Oh
right
yeah.
there, super easy. And then this year, my daughters are heavily into Moana, so we stayed at the
Okay.
Polynesian just
Yeah.
because they have the rooms and all of that,
Right. Yeah.
that type of
Polynesian's
vibe.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
so it's good.
Polynesian's awesome. Yeah.
So
It's a fun place. A lot of people don't like it because of the crowds and all that stuff. But to me, it's and I think I like it so much because I'm in the customer service industry. And
100%.
when you go somewhere like that, that's what I tell my wife every time. I'm like, God, these people are amazing. Like, I mean, they'll literally do anything for you. I mean, it's mind blowing, really, what they will do and how smooth that operation runs.
Absolutely.
And when you think about it, I mean, there's a reason that GM uses them for their training. I mean,
Absolutely.
because they are their customer service is phenomenal. You're
Yeah.
spending astronomical amounts of money, and you just enjoy every minute of it.
And you're ready
It's
to go back again.
ready to go back, which is crazy. Normally when you're spending that kind of money, like I'm never coming back to this place, but we're booking a trip on our flight home from the last trip. It's uh, but yeah, it's a cool place. So
Absolutely. So is Travis a good manager now?
He is, he's doing a great job. He's training some guys. He went through some growing pains where he got the manageritis, and we had to, I wouldn't say have a talk or anything, but we all do it when we get promoted. We get a little bit lazier, and blah 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 blah, and but yeah, he does a great job with training. He'll go out, talk to customers, take turns closing, whatever, take over a deal if he has to. He does whatever he needs to do. He's doing a great job.
Awesome. And did your numbers go down at all when he left the sales floor?
No, they didn't really ever. They haven't really suffered too much. We hired a couple of guys that kind of made up for him. I'm down to probably the smallest staff I've had right now, just because the way the market is right now, and I think I have 8 sales reps right now.
So when you say the
But
market, how is the market out there?
it's just weird. Honestly, it's weird. Used car values are up and down, fluctuating.
Mhm.
With the interest rates being the way they are, it's sometimes it doesn't make sense for people to trade. If they have a 2-year-old Altima, they're paying 0.9% on. Well, the Altima hasn't changed too terribly much in 2 years, so
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to tell them, yeah, you should trade out and pay 6% and $150 more payment a month than what you're paying now. Um, so it's just kind of weird. Those deals we used to put together out of service, that the customers over there, and I have a big saying, hey, they're going to leave here one way or the other, with a car payment in a new car, or with a car payment in their old car. So we can give them that option while they're here, and a lot of times we can make it make sense. Hey, you're paying $450 now, we can get you to $460. You don't have to pay your shop bill, and you get a brand new car. Because most people, let's just call it like it is, they're going to have a car payment for the rest of their life. I'm one of them. It is what
Me
it
too.
is. So and most people are like, yeah, if you get my payment close to the same, yeah, I'd go ahead and trade. There's really no reason for me not to. And I don't have to pay my shop bill. But now when you go tell them, yeah, we can, but it's 150 more a month, they're like, oh, no, I'm good. I'll keep my car. But, just you got a lot of people that are waiting, I think, just to see if the rates come back down. I think a
Mhm.
lot of the buyers now are need buyers instead of, on the whim want buyers. You still have those from time to time, and people that are, kind of same people that are buying houses right now. They're saying, "I'll just refinance it in 6, 8 months whenever rates come down." And we tell them to date the payment for a little while, and then we'll marry it later on once the rates come down. But you know, it's and when I say weird, we'll have days where we'll sell 6 or 8 cars, and the next day we'll see 3 customers all day. So it's just kind of up and down right now.
Yeah. Is Anderson
But
a big area, a big city?
it's not a big city. It's a big county, but it's not a big city. It's growing some, and it's grown a lot, obviously, in my lifetime. Um, but we're on the main street here. It's called Clemson Boulevard. Clemson University is, 15 minutes down the road from us. So, it's a big, it's not a huge town, but we do get a lot of, we get a lot of outside traffic and a lot of outside business. Probably 35% of my deals are Georgia deals, because the Georgia line's only about 19 miles from here.
Okay.
And, those little towns, there's not really anything else around there unless they go the other way into Georgia. So it's quicker for them just to come to South Carolina. So probably 30% of our business is Georgia deals.
Do they service there as well then, since they're
Yeah,
so close?
yeah, most of them do. Yeah, so
Perfect.
we have a lot of our retention's pretty good as far as our sales and service retention is pretty good. But yeah, most of them service here. So they Hartwell, Georgia is right down the road, just like 30 minutes away. So Hartwell, Livonia, Toccoa, they're all little small towns that don't have any franchise. They got some little used car lots, but no franchise stores. So their closest dealer would be Athens or
Okay.
us. So they either go to Athens or us usually. So
Okay. And how many cars do you all sell a month? How many do you keep on the ground? What do you sell new,
um,
used?
we sell new and used. Obviously, we have 76 used cars in stock right now, and I think I have close to 100 new cars in inventory right now. So I do have a lot of inventory. we did everything, the Nissan way of the way they wanted us to RDR cars and report cars, and that they do little mini closes throughout the month. And if you can get your inventory down to as little as possible, it shows that you're selling your inventory, so then you get more inventory. And we did it the right way. There was some dealers that didn't do it the right way. They had 3 different stores, and they were transferring inventory from this store, so this store would get inventory, and then they would transfer it back. And we just didn't believe in it, and those guys are struggling now because Nissan caught on to their games. But we sell around, right now we're doing between 100 and 110. We were doing 130, 140, 145 pretty consistently. So it is down a little bit. Obviously, grosses are still a little bit higher than normal. But that game's coming back down too. We sold a few cars over MSRP, but it was really just Pathfinders. Once they first came out, we were over MSRP. Everything else we kind of stuck to, just MSRP, and we really had to compete. There weren't, there's not many people paying $4,000 over for a Nissan Altima or a Sentra. I mean, it's not a Bronco, I mean, it's or a Raptor, it's an Altima. So we didn't do that to a lot of people. There were some Nissan stores that didn't. They got away with it. And we've tried to get some of those people out. You're not getting them out for a long time. So,
no.
And it's tough, and I told a sales rep that the other day. I said, man, it was like the 4th customer in a row. I said, man, I feel like we're trying to clean up other people's actions. And I said, we missed the boat somewhere because we didn't sell them the first time they were here, and now they're coming back to us trying to get us to save them. So, but it is what it is. But the market's just, it's up and down. I think it's going to get back to normal. I'm hoping it gets back to normal. I'm hoping interest rates come down. So we'll see.
Has Nissan made any incentivized special rates to help at all?
They have some, depending on the car. You can get Rogues now. You can get all the way down to 0% for 36 months, and they do have some 2.9 for 72, and stuff like that. But there's still, there's some cars that tier 1 750 Beacon is 6.5%, and when you have guys that have bought cars in the last 5 years that are that kind of credit score, and you hit them at 6.5, 7.5%, they're like, no, heck no, there's no way I'm paying that. But and we tell them, hey, we can't control the rates. You're welcome to check with your own bank. Then they go check with their bank, and they're like, yeah, we're 7.25 ourselves. So, it's and that's, I think, and I didn't understand it for a long time till I was in this, but most banks are borrowing money too. So
yeah,
they're paying when they have to pay a higher percentage. Well, they're going to charge you a higher percentage. It's just the way that the math works. And you can ask my sales guys, that's my number one saying. I can fix a lot of things, but math's not one of them. So, so the payment is what it is, and the interest rates are what they are. I can't fix it. So,
okay. So do y'all do any type of daily training with your salespeople? Do you believe in training? How has training affected your life?
I believe in training. I don't do a daily training. And I probably don't train as much as I should, if you want just to be full transparency. We do train, obviously, our new guys when they come in. I usually get them with a sales rep that I trust, and let them follow him around for, sit with him while he does his deals, do everything with him. And then for the first couple months, we always take the first turn with the customer when a new sales rep has them. We do some training. My sales staff is kind of weird. I have 4 guys who've been doing it for a very long time, and then I have 3 guys who are very, very young, very, very new to the car business. And some of them have picked up on different little tidbits from other people, and some of them are true natural salespeople that once they figured out how to do it, they don't really need your help.
Right.
I'm not saying that they don't need to sharpen their skills and stuff like that, but I shared some of your TikToks with them, your phone calls, and I said, what is one thing that he doesn't mention in here? And they're like, what? I'm like, how do you not see it? He never mentions the price. If he asks about it, yeah, he might give it to him, and then he goes straight into something else. He doesn't harp down on it. And I'm a firm believer that it's not all about price is why people buy.
Nope.
And I've always believed that way. And that's what I try to tell these guys. I'm like, look, this guy just made us an offer of 22 grand because that's what they had it down the street. But we just closed him at 23.8. Why would, I don't know about you, but if it's just down the street and save 1,500 bucks, I'm driving there. So, we did something right. He liked us, so he bought from us. My favorite quote is, when value exceeds price, people buy.
Absolutely.
And
Well
if
said.
if if they like you, if you've taken care of them, people enjoy that. Now,
Hmm.
now occasionally the few percent, are you going to have the guy who will drive 4 hours to save 100 bucks? Yeah, you are, and there's nothing you can do about that guy. It is what it is. Probably didn't want to sell
Yeah.
him anyways. He's going to be a pain in the butt for the rest of your career.
And he won't,
So
he most likely won't come back to you because that $100
won't
is going to
service with
affect
it.
him next time.
Yep. I mean, but that's when I watch your videos, and that's why I shared them with, I shared them with my BDC, and I'm like, listen, he immediately asked, what did you like about the car? What do you need the car for? What do you need a F-250 for instead of just a regular F-150? Because that guy might be on way too much truck if he's hauling a garden, a lawnmower and his weed eater. He
Right.
might not need a F2. So, I said he treats the customer like they're in front of him doing we call them a needs assessment,
Hmm.
doing a needs assessment. He treats them like that on the phone and over messaging or whatever the case may be, because people aren't just rolling on the lot. It's 2024. I can get
Yeah.
online and get a price on an Altima from 5 different dealers in a matter of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the one that doesn't call me and say, hey, what time can you be here? I'm not going to see that guy. But when I watch your videos, and that's what I was telling them, I'm like, just take a few minutes and watch, follow these different guys and see what they do, and just listen to it. If you only pick up one little nugget, it might help you sell a couple more cars. So, I think we agree with that people aren't going to buy just for price. And there, price obviously gets some sometimes looking, but we have where we're located. I'm 2 hours from Atlanta. I'm 2 hours from Charlotte. I'm right in the middle. So, that's one thing. That's the way I price my used cars. I have to price them to market, or you wouldn't be calling me from Atlanta asking me about that car.
Yeah.
So, and and that's what I've relayed to these guys. I'm like, look, we have technology that helps us price our cars to be competitive. So if
Hmm.
you're taking a phone up from 2 hours away, the price is good, I assure you.
Yes.
Now you got to sell them, which is what you do in your videos. Not necessarily selling the car there, but you sell yourself and you sell the appointment. Because if
Hmm.
we get them there, our closing rate is very high. I mean, we
Right.
closed at like over 50% last month.
Oh,
So
good.
if we can get them here, we're gonna close them up most of the time.
Hmm.
So that's one thing I have that down as a New Year's goal of working on with the sales guys, is more selling yourself in the appointment to get them here, instead of, hey, he wants to know what our best price is, and then it was a 45-second phone call. I mean, what was your average time on the phone when you were doing the training at that other store?
Seven,
Five, six
seven
minutes.
and a half minutes.
Yeah. So I mean, you're building all kind of rapport very quickly with that guy or the
Hmm.
girl, whoever it is, that when they come in, for one thing, they're going to remember your name. They're
Yes.
going to know exactly who you are. You're not going to
Hmm.
have hey, I talked to that customer on the phone. Oh, well, they didn't ask for you. You're not going to have that, because they're going to remember you.
Yep.
So, it's that was good stuff. Those videos were very great to watch, by the way. So, I really enjoyed them.
Well, thank you so much.
And
Starting next week, I'll be making a ton more. When
yeah,
I was selling cars at dealerships, the salespeople liked me, but they also hated me because they were greeters for me, because I sold so many
right.
cars, because people specifically remembered me, felt connected to me, and it just helps with that rapport, the relationship, and then they want
Oh,
to buy
absolutely.
from me. So
Yeah.
absolutely. So
And then
one
those
thing you
people send their friends and family to you, you know. So
that's when
the
I really started going like deep, when meaning selling 40, 50, 60 cars, is because you just built your book of business. And
right.
then so many people would come back they would repeat. It was just a snowball effect. And one thing
Yeah.
you mentioned probably 5 minutes ago is you have a BDC.
Mhm.
How do they perform on the phone? How do you know their closing percentages?
They're, I think, around 10% of their leads they're closing.
Okay.
Um, Jenny is our BDC rep. She does a great job. Um, I call her a bulldog. She's aggressive. Um, but she does do a good job on the phone, and she'll latch onto a deal, and she'll stay with it, and sometimes stay with it a little too long. I'm like, hey, it's a
Sometimes just move on.
474 credit beacon. And they got $500 down and they can't prove their income. Let's move along. But
100%.
she's a female, so she gets she hears the sob story and she falls in love with it, and she's over there begging me to work it and call the bank and ask for a favor. And, so it's but she does a good job, and she's a hard worker. So um,
What time do the salesperson ever take over leads, or does she just do everything? Or
right now I have them on a we have a round robin of three different sales reps that are getting some leads, and then she goes in behind them with the leads that they work, and does some follow up. um, and she works the majority of the leads, and then they do get a few. We get in a lot of leads a month, probably 450 leads a month. So
heck yeah.
so we do a lot of advertising and different campaigns and stuff like that. So she gets about 450 leads a month, and then we're a KBB buying center, so we have one lady that is strictly pretty much Kelly Blue Book buying. That's all she really does is try to set appointments for it. And we were averaging buying probably 25 or 30 a month there for a little while, 20 to 30 a month. So
That's
um,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, I'd much rather buy them at my front door than at the auction. So
100%.
so
They're better taken care of. You typically get them for a cheaper price. You
yep,
know what you're buying. There's a
yep,
story
yep,
behind it, everything.
yep. Not paying a bunch of fees, and it's not worried about transport. They're right here. So um, and we probably turn 15% into a deal, because most people selling their car, they got to replace it with something. Most
Yep.
people don't just have an extra car laying around. So it's a great tool, and Anna does a good job of getting people in on KBB leads. But our BDC does a good job, so they probably equate for 50% of our sales month in, month out, I would say. So
Yeah, that's what you said. Selling
yeah.
about 108, 110, 40,
Mm-hmm.
450, 10%, 45 deals. So half
Yeah.
your business comes from internet.
Yeah. I mean, there was a while when she was pushing close to 100. She hit close to 100 a couple of times. So she does a good job.
Awesome. What advice would you give new salespeople getting into the business, people that's been in here for years and they really haven't found their stride? What advice would you give salespeople?
For newer guys, I would say, just get in and lean in on your management staff, and listen to the advice that they give you. Um, Listen to the training, as monotonous and as boring as it can be sometimes. Listen to the training when you're taking your certification test for Nissan. Actually pay attention to the videos, because a lot of times the customers are going to know more about the car than you do when they get here, and that's not a good feeling. Whenever they ask you a question and you don't know, but lean in on your management, listen to them. They tell you how to say something, as crazy as it might sound, go out and say it. And if you can't do that, then you're probably in the wrong industry, because you're going to have uncomfortable conversations with the customer. Um, but and for the and social media is the next thing that I would say. Like I said earlier, if you're depending on light traffic to make a living in the car business, you're not going to do it.
Mm.
You can make a couple grand a month off of lot ups, but you're not going to ever make any real money. And for the older guys, I would say that they probably need to get into social media. I got a couple of dinosaurs here who aren't, they're not social media guys, but one of them's been here for 10 or 11 years, so he's got a good book of business, and He's got a lot of repeats, but he doesn't really need to make that much money. So he's kind of a part-time guy, but he sells 10 or 12 a month. But for the older guys, it's you got to adapt. And it is what it is. You just got to adapt to what the business has turned to, and it's turned to an online social media. They basically treat people the right way, and they're going to come back to you. But really, you got to get in front of people, and the way you can get in front of them fast and free is social media.
Yeah,
And I'm a big believer in that. The more you see, the more you'll sell. So
absolutely.
if you're not in front of them and they're not seeing you, then you got to stay in front of them constantly. Whether it's text messaging or Facebook posts or Facebook videos. And I've created a couple of different Facebook pages for older guys here, and teach them how to friend their customers while their customers are here, so they can post cars. And it's I had a guy, going back to the social media, and this is what I would tell young people that are just starting to, is don't get frustrated if you're posting stuff every day and you're only getting 2 or 3 likes, or one comment. Don't let that bother you, because even some people might just, I'm not a big liker of stuff on Facebook myself. I see a lot, but I might not like it, hit the like button. So don't let that
Yeah.
bother you, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes of where they've mentioned it to their spouse, or they've mentioned it to their buddy at work, or whatever the case. Just because they didn't say anything doesn't mean that they didn't.
Hmm.
But I will say one tip that I did learn from Travis with Facebook, and he would post cars on his story every day. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you can see who views your story. So he would go back and just message all those people. Hey, I saw where you watched my story about the cars I put up. Did you see anything you liked? If I can ever help, I'd love to help you out. And that's a great way to get a customer. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't take much time to do. Um, have you ever
Nope.
seen Frank Cornetti? Frank Cornetti?
I
You
have.
ever, you
He
ever,
works at the Honda dealership. He
yeah,
sells,
yeah,
used to sell like
100
100
cars
cars
a
a
month.
month. High,
Yeah,
high 100. Yeah.
yeah, I got him to do a Zoom call with my sales guys. This was a couple years ago, but I show him his Facebook. I'm like, man, look, he is every day, and even as big as his Facebook is, and as many people as he has, there might be some posts where he only had 3 or 4 likes on it,
Hmm.
but he's selling 6 cars a day. So obviously something is working. But
Absolutely.
he was consistent with it. And that's one thing that I will say to you guys is, if you're going to do it, the first day post, you need to do it for 30 days straight, and then come back to me and tell me it didn't work. And I haven't had one yet that's done it for 30 days and didn't come back and say, hey, it didn't work. So it works. And it's crazy world.
It's a crazy world. Is
I
anybody
started
there that just phenomenal on social media?
Um, I have a guy who he's getting there. He was big into social media before he got in the car business. Actually, I think he got up to like 300,000 followers on TikTok at one point in time, and he's getting there now. But he is younger, and I will say that is a tough part with the younger crowd too. Is a lot of them, their friends on Facebook aren't really in the market for cars because they're 20, 21, 22 years old. So that's why I try to tell them to make sure you're adding your customers as your friends
Mhm.
on Facebook, so that they can see it. And if they share your post or they like your post, then maybe their friends will see it. Post a picture of them where you sold them a car and tag them in it, so that, Jerry and Melinda down the street see it, their neighbors, and they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they're jealous because the neighbors got a new car, so now they're going to call you to come get a new car. So it's but yeah, it's the social media game. It's obviously, I've had to adapt to it personally. you know I'm, like I said, I'm 37, but when I started selling cars, Facebook was just getting started. And
Yeah.
it was if you had a college email address, was the only way you could get a Facebook account. And we were getting like 4 internet leads at that point in time. And we depended on lot traffic and referrals and phone ups.
Hmm.
So um, I've had to adapt to it. Even as I still consider myself young, but being as young as I am, I've had to adapt to the new way of selling cars. And it's I get frustrated with it like everybody else. When I got a guy that lives 2 hours away that I've put him on a smoking deal, and he's still busting me up for another $200, and I'm like, well, man, just go buy it somewhere else. There's a lot of Nissan stores between here and Raleigh, North Carolina. Like, but it's it is what it is. But the industry has changed a lot, but it's changing for good. It's I think that back in the day, a lot of dealers got a bad rap for how they operated, and it's not like that. Even though a lot of people still have that same taste in their mouth of the slimy car salesman, and it as well as anybody. You were in this business for a long time. We want to sell a car as bad as they want to buy a car.
What, if
So,
not worse?
if not worse. So, that's what I tell people. Look, I want to sell you a car as bad as you want to buy a car. And, there's not, a ton of funny money and all that stuff like there used to be. And, the markup on cars, you know it as well as anybody, is not what people think it is.
No, not
from
at all.
from invoice to MSRP on a Nissan Versa is about $650 worth of markup with a little
Yeah,
bit of holdback. So, really and truly, you probably got about $1,100 worth of markup. And when you add on a dealer pack, there's not much left.
it's a
So,
mini already.
yeah. So, it's, yeah. But we actually work off a flat here. I have all my sales guys on a flat. We do no commissions.
What do you pay them?
So we do 200 per car. Um, New, used, doesn't matter. And then we do $50 if the customer finances with us,
Mm-hmm.
$50 if they buy a warranty, and $25 if they buy maintenance. So you can make up to about $300 a car. And then, but we do have big bonuses. I think at 10 cars, it's like $800. 12 cars is 12 or 1400. 20 cars, 18 to 20 cars a month is going to pay you. You're going to make 120, 125 grand a year. And,
Amazing.
you know, we, I'm a, I wasn't a big fan of it when I started, just because, I feel like sometimes the salesperson doesn't work so hard for the gross, but they don't know
Mm-hmm.
the gross. Not that we're trying to hide anything, but the reason we went to the flats was it gets the salesperson, they don't have to worry about, hey, how much am
How
I
much am
making
I
on this
making?
car. They don't have to walk around a used car that's been sitting out there for a while because they know it's a mini deal. They don't care because they're going to make the same thing. um, so it's just it works out good for the customer because they put them on the right car. They don't worry about making a big gross, and I'm going to force this, tighten on them because we're going to make the most money on it. They put them on the right car by that, and it's worked out good. And I lost some salespeople during COVID because we paid on the flats. When they could go to another store that was paying off commission, that was busting people for 3-4 grand over MSRP. And I tried to tell some of those guys, hey, look, you're going somewhere that's going to be short-term money, and it's not going to work out in the long run. And all those guys are all at a different store now. They're not even at the same store that they left here to go from, because it's now they're just chasing the money. Where if they would have stayed, now they have 3 more years at the same dealership where they would have sold a bunch of cars and have those repeat customers. So
I was about to say that.
it's and that's what I used to tell them. I'm like, listen, let me ask you a question. Have you rather sell 20 cars and make 10 grand a month, or sell 8 and make 10 grand? He would say, oh, I want to sell 8. It's less work. I'm like, all right, so let's think about the next year. Have you rather be getting referrals from 20 people a month and repeats from 20 people a month, or referrals from 8 people and repeats from 8 because you made good money for 2 months off of eight customers? So it's the big picture, but people chase money, and it is what it is. I had several job offers whenever to make more money, but it's not all about money. I made great money, don't get me wrong, but everybody wants more. But I also want consistency in my life too, and there's more to a job than just money. You have to like
Well
where you
said.
work, you have to like the people, and I'm loyal. I'm probably loyal to a fault, but my owner is, I consider him one of my best friends. We talk regularly. He's in the store a lot. He hadn't been here lately because he's helping out at our Honda store in Savannah, but he's always taking care of me. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, listen, y'all didn't care about those grosses when we were taking 6 grand off of an Altima. And now all of a sudden you care about the gross. So, it goes both ways. Y'all didn't go to the owner and say, hey, man, you paid me too much on that car. But now that you feel like you can make a little bit more money, now you want to jump ship and, tell them that we need to pay this and we need to pay that. But, 2 years ago, when we were, selling 160 cars and we were taking, like I said, $6,000 off, and ultimately y'all didn't mind us losing $2,000 on the front of the deal then, so it works both ways.
Absolutely. So, any aspirations to own dealerships, GMs? Any game
Um,
plans, futures?
I've thought about it, and the owner told me one time. He said, "I want you running one of my stores," and I told him at the time, I said, "Man, I don't want to run one of your stores. I don't want to be a GM." He just kind of looked at me funny, like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Man, I just love selling cars. I love, and I don't really want to. Not a huge fan of the service and parts side, and I don't want to have to worry about it, all that kind of stuff. But there has been some talks, and I think eventually it'll happen, and I'll just and I'll do it. But really no desire to own. Thought about it for a long time, but really no desire there. I enjoy what I do, and not saying I don't have a lot of headaches, but I don't have the headache that an owner has. So I got to worry about eight guys and a couple girls in BDC and taking care of customers. But when you get into an ownership, it's a whole different level, and it's just so much money now too. I mean, to own a dealership, it's a lot of money.
How many people
Whenever
work at your dealership? Parts, service,
we
everything,
have
mechanics?
30, 32 to 35, somewhere around there.
35 families.
So it's a lot of people. And we're shorter staffed now than we've ever been. We're running more thin now. But I only have three ladies in accounting. One of them's part time, which is probably one of the best moves we ever made. Just a little tidbit here for anybody listening in the car business: go to your local DMV, find a lady who's close to retiring, and offer her to come work part time. And it's the best move you'll ever make. She can handle in 2.5 days what it takes other title clerks to handle in a week.
Because
And
she's
it's
used to
literally,
volume.
and she knows everything. You've been in the car business. There's one way to do stuff at the DMV, the way they tell you to do it.
And
And
that's
you're
it.
not getting around it. There's no getting around it. There's no talking to them about it. You're going to do it our way, or you're not going to do it. And so she knows all the ins and outs. So literally, and she knows all the people there. And she works Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and then she's off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and she
Amazing.
gets it all done. So
I've never heard that. That's awesome.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing
it's
that.
it's literally one of the best hires we ever made. Now she's a pain. I aggravate her all the time, but she's but she does a phenomenal job. And if you're in the car business, that's one thing I could recommend, because they don't pay them anything at the state DMVs. Go offer them. We had one leave at our old store that left a lady at her counter at the DMV when we offered her a job. She said, "I'm out of here," and she came to work the first day in her DMV uniform. So but they're great employees. So you know.
Awesome, man.
So you worked at a Ford store?
That's the one I was a GM running the dealership. It was a Ford. The one that I
Okay.
sold all of the cars, it was a Volkswagen. Started off selling Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Rams, Kias, Toyotas, and then what else? Sold Nissans for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Nissan's very good brand. I liked them. I drove a Maxima for probably 2 years that I owned. So
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Nissan.
Yeah. Cool. Man, that's impressive. Those kind of numbers at a Volkswagen store.
Volkswagens in Southern Indiana it's a true sell.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say
Imagine that's
that,
not a hot commodity.
it is not a hot
No.
commodity. They have hardly zero road share, market share.
Right.
It just no one. We have two big Ford plants here, and then also a Toyota. So those brands right there, they're everywhere.
Right.
Volkswagens, no, not at all. And we crushed
Right.
it. We did very good. So yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
more of a sell. So yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. So you're a big Louisville fan, right?
I'm a Louisville fan. I looked at your
Yeah.
Facebook. You're a Clemson fan. It looks like your
I
little
am.
boy is playing basketball.
He
Um,
does. Man, I was at the Louisville game when God, what was his name? I can't think of his name. The quarterback,
Teddy Bridgewater, Lamar Jackson,
Lamar Jackson, the Lamar Jackson Clemson
and
game
you
where it
all
came
beat
down to
us.
the yeah, it came down to like the final play. I
Yeah,
think
the
he ran out of
sticks on the
bounds. It
sideline.
was
Yep, I
yeah.
remember.
I was literally sitting right across from it. Yeah, I've been a Clemson fan my whole life. So obviously I don't get to as many games now because I work Saturdays. But crazy thing, up until about 5 or 6 years ago, my dad had only missed 3 home games since 1980.
Whoa.
So I
Who
grew
does
up.
he go with?
We used to all go as a family. When I was a kid, there was he has a friend who's a pastor, and he was our pastor forever when I was a kid, and so our families used to all go together. We had 8 seats all together, and we would get there, do the whole tailgating thing, and get there super early, and then that kind of fell off once the families got a little older. But him and my dad still went to every game together, and up until probably 5 or 6 years ago was the last time they bought season tickets. And he might sneak into a game every now and then now, but he's 70 years old, so he's rather watch it at home now. He says it's a little more comfortable in his recliner than dealing with all the traffic. But I still try to get to at least 2 games a year. I went out to national championship when we played in 2018. My wife and I went out. My sister and brother-in-law, we went out to California to a national championship game. So big Clemson fans. My wife and I are actually going to the basketball game tonight. So
Well, have fun.
yeah. So
And
you
you're
guys
going to
got quite a good.
Disney in March, so you do a lot outside the car business. Does that help you? Because I know that was like I worked so many hours, and I kind of put blinders on and kind of not lived. And then when I had kids, it kind of changed my perspective.
Yeah, it's I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. I have a 12-year-old from previous marriage, and my wife and I now we have a 6-year-old. But yeah, family is very important, and I preach that. I want guys to take their vacation time, and I always use the statement. This is going to sound bad, but I don't live to work. I work to live.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting out doing stuff that you enjoy, take your day off, take your early nights. And I'm a big believer in that because for one, it keeps you motivated, and it keeps you fresh. And everybody needs a break. You'll burn yourself out in this business. You can burn yourself out. Luckily, my wife only knows the car business, so she's used to my schedule. We make it work. And I warn people that when I hire them, if they're coming from a 9 to 5 job, I'm like, hey, this isn't a 9 to 5 job. We might not go home at 7:30 when we close. It could be 9:30 because you sold a car at 7:15, and there was one already in the business office. So, but I'm a firm believer in taking time to do stuff outside of work. I think it's good for your family, and it's good for you as an employee.
Yeah.
It keeps you motivated to continue to do things like that, and it
Absolutely.
keeps you fresh, and because everybody needs a break, and it's I have some guys that want it more than others, and they don't ever want to be here, it seems like. but, you know um
Are
but
you all open
yeah.
7 days a week?
No, we're closed every Sunday.
Okay.
Never open on Sundays. We're actually one of the only dealers in this town that doesn't open the last Sunday of the month. That's one thing I'm very grateful for. I think Sundays is a huge waste to be open. And I've always said it's either business you should have got on Saturday or business you'll get on Monday.
Yeah.
But our owner told me when he hired me, he said, "Look, I'll never open on a Sunday unless the manufacturer came in and told me that I had to open." So it's we've never opened on a Sunday here, which is good. So I'm normally off on Tuesdays and then off on Sundays. So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I think my AirPods just went dead. Can you still hear me?
All right. I can definitely hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's not being open on Sundays is a big thing. So we close at 7:30 during the week and 7 on Saturdays. So
open up at 9.
Yeah, we open at 9. So
you're living the good life, man.
Not too terrible of a long day, We have
Yeah.
some early nights. We get them out of here at least twice a week at 6 o'clock, and you know, and even we used to be open till 8. We just switched to 7:30. I know that's 30 minutes to some people. They're like, man, that's not a lot, but I'm like, hey, if you're home 30 minutes earlier, it's a game changer.
It
My daughter
is.
goes to bed at 8:45, so when we were closing at 8, we have a late customer. Don't leave here till 8:20, 8:30. Well, all I'm doing is walking in and tucking her in.
Yeah.
So you can have a work-life balance in the car business. A lot of people believe that you can't, but you can. You just have to figure out a way to make it work. My wife's off on Tuesdays too. She only works 3 days a week, but our Tuesdays at our house are like our Saturdays for everybody else. That's when we do our grocery shopping, or we go. She's actually starting to play some golf, so me and her will go play golf while the kids are in
Heck yeah.
school, and so it's you figure out what works.
Yeah. My wife never, I know some families and wives are kind of repel because you work so many hours in the car
Right,
business. My wife, like you said, she's always known me to be a hard worker and never really
right,
affected her.
yeah.
So absolutely. Any last parting words of wisdom to anybody, managers, salespeople, anything before we jump off? Because I know you probably got to get ready to get your
Yeah,
sales staff because
getting ready to
Travis
get
is off.
started. Yeah. One thing for managers in this state, that they told me this when they promoted me to a manager. I was super young. I was like 24 years old, but don't forget where you came from. Because you were out there selling cars at one point in time. So you heard the objections that they're coming in. Don't give them some stupid answer of what they should go say. And be willing to go do what you tell them to go do.
Right.
And that was one thing that has stuck with me. And every manager I've ever promoted, I've told them that, hey, don't forget where you came from. And, because it can't happen. You're back sitting behind the desk now and you think you're the big shot. But at the end of the day, we're still salespeople at heart, whether we have a manager behind our title or not. Um,
Absolutely.
and the new guys, just hone in on your management staff, hone in on your training, follow you, and invest in yourself. If your dealer's not willing to pay for some training, save up and pay for some on your own. um, if you spend a couple $100 on training, it's one car deal. It'll pay for itself time and time again. So you know listen to podcasts, listen to I do that pretty much nightly. I put my AirPods in and I listen to a podcast. Now I've been listening to your podcast. I listen to all kind of different podcasts, and you know just figure out a way. Listen
Absolutely.
and listen and learn is the key. So,
All right.
but
Well, thank you so much for joining. We
yeah,
need to
man,
get our
glad
families
to.
together and go to Disney one day because we go
Absolutely.
2 times a year. So
Yeah,
it's been a
man, you're doing
pleasure.
it's been a pleasure, and you're doing a great job. And I wish you all the best in your new business, and I know you're going to kill it like you have already. So,
All right. Well, thank you so much and crush it today.
yeah, man, appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, bye bye.